Hey there, it's Miko from ML Sound Lab, and it's time you stop using the wrong amplifier. Okay, so many of you come from me for recommendations for IRs, and most of the time the problem is the amplifier that you're using. For example, a use case would be that you're using some kind of an amplifier because someone else was using it and recommended the amplifier for you and it didn't work for you, and now you're looking for an IR to make it work for you. The thing is that, the IR is way more powerful than the amplifier, so if you go in reverse and choose an amplifier and commit to that amplifier, then spend a lot of time trying to find the IR that will make that work, you're probably never gonna find it. And while amplifiers can be very versatile, all the EQ on an amplifier is wide Q, while IRs are thousands and thousands of different EQ spikes that you cannot control. So it's way more important for you to find a really good IR that you like. The key word here is balance, and what you want is a balanced guitar tone. If you're using a balanced neutral amplifier and a neutral IR, obviously you will get a balanced guitar tone. But let's say your amplifier is really dark and you want to use this specific amplifier, then you would have to choose a brighter IR or a brighter cab and mic setup if you're using real-life amplifiers and cabs. Same goes for if you're using a really bright amplifier, then you have to choose a darker cabinet or a darker mic up to get a balanced sound. That's usually what it comes down to. So I thought this would be a really cool comparison, so let's try this out and hear some clips. Let's choose a really dark amplifier and choose a really bright mic up and see what that sounds like. Okay, next let's choose a really bright amplifier and a really dark mic up. Let's see what that sounds like. So based on these two clips, I would definitely say that using a really dark mic up will give you a loose low end and kind of honky frequencies in the spectrum. This is if you're compensating for a bright amplifier by using a really dark mic positioning, meaning that you're kind of compensating for using the wrong amplifier. So actually using a dark amplifier and then using a brighter mic up is the better option. That does, however, mean that you will most likely need to spend some time EQing the sound afterwards, but it is kind of usable in the end. And while we're doing this comparison, I thought it would be really cool to also do the same thing with the middle frequencies. So some amplifiers are really mid-scooped and some of the amplifiers are really mid-heavy. Same goes with the IRs. For example, if you choose something like an orange cabinet, it has a lot of mids. If you choose something like, for example, a vintage heavy magnet type of speaker type, it'll be more scooped. So let's see what happens if we combine a really mid-heavy amplifier with a really scooped cabinet. Okay, so let's see what happens if you use a really scooped amplifier and a mid-heavy cabinet. Okay, so based on that comparison, I would say that if you choose to use a really scooped guitar cabinet or mic up or IR, you are kind of stuck with that sound. the amplifier can most of the time not compensate for those mids, and you will most likely end up using some kind of post EQ or processing, unless that's exactly the tone that you want. For example, if you want to go for a Pantera type thing, that's exactly what you want. Then on the other hand, if you are using a mid-heavy IR, this was an orange in this comparison, then most amplifiers do have a middle knob that is controllable low enough, so that's actually a better option to have, a really mid-heavy IR, and you can then use the amplifier to scoop it out and make it balanced. So what's the point of this video? Well, kind of giving you an idea of what is a good IR and what is not. So if you have to choose, I suppose a mid-heavy IR is always going to be better than a mid-scooped one. If you'd have to choose, maybe rather use a brighter IR than a dark IR, because the amplifier can compensate for these things. So remember to have a lot of mids and rather have a bright IR than a dark IR. But obviously the way I like to do things and how all these packs are made is to have a really balanced amplifier and a really balanced IR, and the end result is that you may not have to tweak at all. Many of the times you will use your amplifier with all the knobs at noon, and the IR just does all the heavy lifting, and it works in the mix, it works live, it works everywhere. Okay, thank you for watching the video, and I hope you guys learned something today. I know I did, and see you guys later. Bye.